and welcome to Advertisers Watching Ads. My name is Tom Ollerton. I'm the founder of Automated Creative, and this is a show where different brands watch other brands' ads and decide what they love and hate about them, and hopefully choose every week an ad of the week. We have two industry leaders from brands, but also a special guest, and this week is no different. And this show is brought to you by the Conscious Advertising Network. So please go and check those guys out after the show. And this week is different to all of our other episodes. This is a things we hate about advertising episode. So we're going to be discussing the things that annoy us about certain ads and the way they are done. We're going to be looking at work from Virgin, Monopoly, and Fastic. More to be explained later. So would this week's guests like to introduce themselves?
Hello everyone, my name is Scott Morrison. I am the founder and I'd like to say the bringer of The Boom.
Hi everyone, I'm POLLYANNA and I am the social media manager for Wix, the DIY retailer.
And return of the Mac, I'm back again, Jerry Dakin, and I do media at GSK Consumer Healthcare.
So Scott, your ad is first. Can you tell the audience a little bit about what they're going to see?
Yeah, my ad is for Virgin Media, and it's something that's been on TV and dotted around the internet and various different iterations of the ad. But it's about the connectivity that clearly needed to arise and be even stronger during the recent lockdown.
Is it working? Katie, you're on mute.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Looking in your eyes, I see a paradise. This world that I found is too good to be true. The world around us just fall apart. Maybe we can make it. We're heart to heart. Hit it, and we can build this thing together. Standing strong forever. Nothing's gonna stop us now. In this world that wants us, we're still have each other. Nothing's gonna stop us. Nothing's gonna stop us now. Same time tomorrow. Bye, guys.
Right, Scott, we had falling over babies, we had cute kids in sunglasses, but yet you don't like this ad. Tell us why.
Well, yeah, okay, so it's probably not just actually about I don't like the ad. For me, the concept of being connected and talking about connection and running an effective broadband service, first and foremost, demands that during the time of peak usage that the customers get the service that they demand and they require. And I'm a Virgin Media user. During COVID, my business was effectively run over Zoom, and I, along with most of my postcode and indeed a lot of other users, firstly couldn't get the broadband that we paid for, couldn't get it at the speed that we paid for, couldn't therefore work, couldn't get through to customer service, couldn't use the app that supposedly reboots your system when it needs to, plus the system wouldn't work with my extender. All of which happened at the same time as I was watching beautiful children singing lovely songs with my heads in my hand, trying to do the work that I needed to do. And it's a wider, it'd be a bit unfair to single out this particular brand, because actually I think for all broadband businesses, and when you look at Which reports and you look at newspaper reports and you look at the number of complaints that go through to Ofcom every single year, most of them are above the average and the recommended, so there are other brands that sit in that. But what it boils down to for me is, this is a great lesson in this, whatever's going to happen now, this new future that we're creating, that if you are a business that fundamentally provides something for people, right now what people don't need is to be talked at or you to talk about your brand or your business. What they need is for you to do, and to do more, and to serve them better, and to create more value. And I think the brands that do that well are the brands that don't often need to shout about it, and they create new products or create new services or upscale things like customer service or give people money back for things that they didn't receive during COVID, or indeed, just generally upweight everything that they are doing, and always looking at and asking consumers, what is it that you are challenged with at the moment? And therefore, as your service provider, how can we help you? And I think it's far better to spend, when I had my millions of dollars in my marketing budget. I remember when the recession hit, actually, when we were at Diesel, and we made the call then actually to not spend a load of money on advertising. What we did is we spent all that money on providing people access to the brand with events and things that would liven them up and educate them and give them stuff. And we spent all our marketing money on that, giving back to our consumer. And I think, brands have to take responsibility right now and actually in the future. It's not good enough just to talk about and shout about what you think you do in a vain hope that everyone goes, oh yeah, they're really lovely. Because the reality is that every consumer who is using your product doesn't have that level of service, certainly doesn't have what happens on the tagline of your ad, stay connected. I couldn't stay connected. And that has broader implications for people. If you just shout about that and don't do it, you will get found out and people will leave your brand and go somewhere else. So that's my beef.
So Jerry, is it as simple as that? Is it as simple for a business like Virgin to pull their ad spend and divert all that cash into call centers, or is there something else going on here? Have they accepted the fact that maybe they couldn't change things that quickly, but yet they still need to create a warm, fuzzy feeling about the brand? What's your view?
Yeah, so I'd start with saying it's clearly one of the best ads of the year. Fantastic soundtrack, incredible kids. Who wouldn't sing along to it? Very good casual diversity, full markets for that. I take the point. That aside, I was, you can't help but dance along to that. I take the point. For me, it's not. I agree. I haven't had such a bad experience of said Virgin company, but yeah, it's not just about advertising. It's about improving your product and investing in that. But it's not an and or, is it? It's an and you can do both. The harsh reality is, evidence in previous recessions, which is about as close to COVID as we get, shows that the brands that do continue to advertise throughout, and especially if they can stay relevant, come out on top. You've seen it. P&G's been really vocal about that. So I think it's a big risk for brands to go off air. Though I absolutely think they should focus on getting their service working. And I think they've done, in my eyes, an okay job of pivoting their advert to be kind of relevant to the moment, though it does swing towards that kind of generic, we got some people at home to film something and put a logo at the end. But I don't know. I never hate a fun advert I can dance along to.
What's your view, Pollyanna? Are they even glossing, not only are they potentially glossing over the service in some areas, are they glossing over the impact that having a house full of young kids is having on the psyche of parents in C19?
Yeah, I think there were sort of two sides to the ads during like the middle of lockdown. It was either like humorous, we're adapting to lockdown. I think my favourite, I know we're not talking about favourites, but the best ones that did this I think was like Tesco, for example. But then you've also got the flip side, which is sort of the very sad, solemn, morose, almost like holding a mirror up to how everyone was feeling. And I think if it was to be a bit cliche, like ads should be that sort of inspirational, aspirational piece. And I think we all want our children to be angelic and sing along whilst we gaily get along with work and everything is wonderful. So I did get that warm fuzzy feeling. However, on the flip side, I'm not a Virgin customer, but yeah, similar issues with my broadband in the beginning, and I think the provider pulled it back out the bag. But I just remember seeing Virgin was trending on Twitter for a good couple of days on their issue with people not being able to connect. I think there was a few humorous things, and I think what didn't help was that Virgin, its parent company, Virgin Richard Branson, and the stuff that was going on with the airplanes, with airlines, it didn't really help. So I almost feel like if it was a fly on the wall, I imagine Virgin Media were like, we need to do this thing, and to Tom's point and Jerry's point, like reflect the nation, but also try and be uplifting and happy. But my focus was then almost being like, what the hell is Richard Branson doing? He makes millions. Why is he trying to take more money? And then there's people was sharing different news about it, and I think that almost detracted away from it. So I almost feel like if that hadn't happened, then maybe we could sort of forgive the shit broadband issue and be like, oh, okay, it's a nice ad. But actually there was for me, there was so much else going on with Virgin that this didn't. I think I saw it once, but I remembered Richard Branson.
Pollyanna, do you want to give us a little intro to your TikTok?
Yes, you are about to see a TikTok for Fastic, which is a fasting app. So for those that don't know what fasting is, it's where you just don't eat for a certain period of time to help with weight loss. Here we go.
Hi guys, so the last few days I've been fasting, but for health reasons. Here are some of the benefits. If you want to try fasting for health reasons, download the Fastic app.
Tell us why you dislike this ad or this kind of ads.
Well, aside from the glaring spelling mistake on lose weight, just challenging my English degree. So I think there are a lot of probably typical like bad ad traits about it. Like as an industry, it sort of falls into the same category as almost like teeth whitening, where it's just this sort of quick fix industry. But the actual reason why it does, and also, yeah, it does come up on my TikTok every single time I go on it. So I probably go on TikTok between about 10 and 11 at night. I just watch loads of silly things, and it's always served to me in the evenings, and I'm just like, I've just eaten my dinner, so I feel really bad. But I think what is, for me, that was most sort of aggravating was that TikTok is for younger people, and I can't see what their targeting is. Is it because I like to say a young woman, but if the majority of their audience is a young user base, and they're trying to promote basically not eating for extended periods of time, which I do appreciate. I'm sure there are many health benefits, like she pointed out, detoxing and things like that. But should we be encouraging like 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds to be not eating for extended periods of time? You know, I don't have children yet, but it just felt to me like, God, I hope that when I'm a parent, I would give them 3 meals a day. And it doesn't seem right that weight loss advice should be coming from a company that, you know, doesn't know the ins and outs. Like fasting is different for everybody. There's so many different reasons for doing it as well. So I just think it's a little bit irresponsible to sort of be promoting, you know, it's the weight loss thing. And I think particularly, and I know the problem is both male and female, but there is a lot of, you know, women are shown pictures of how you should look in magazines, and now on social media there's photoshopping, there's things like that. And now you're telling me that if I don't eat for 8 hours a day, I also get to be skinny. And I don't think that's the message we should be sending, particularly on an app that's geared towards the younger generation.
So Scott, is there a right way to do this, or should it just be a case of fasting apps shouldn't be allowed anywhere near TikTok or advertising to that age group?
Yeah, this kind of messaging just simply reinforces everything I think that's wrong about social media, and how women, young women particularly, are supposed to conform to a certain look and eat a certain way and look like the influencers. And if you don't look like those influencers, you've got to go to the other extreme. And then, you know, there's all these kind of extremes. There's nothing, and like Pollyanna said, your kids just need to have 3 meals a day and plenty of exercise. You know, just that whole, you know, when you and you guys know it far better than me, but when you know what goes on in terms of the algorithms to get those things in front of those kind of people, I think that there's something very, very wrong about it.
So Jerry, with a conscious advertising network hat on, what is your response to this?
It's kind of the thing, like the Advertising Association has done a lot of work to show that trust in advertising in the UK, we're like the least trusted industry in the entire UK, below like bankers and politicians. And this kind of ticks a lot of the boxes of what drives that, sort of the slightly stereotypical messages we're putting out, and particularly the frequency one as well. Consumers really dislike kind of being bombarded by the same advert. And I think, you know, as a conscious advertiser, you could probably think a bit more carefully about the frequency you run, about the age group you're talking to, and about kind of the sensitivity of the message.
So Jerry, you are going to talk to the audience about your ads, your pet hate for this week.
Yeah, this is a particularly iconic example of, I guess, what I would call the sort of guess the brand advert that kind of typically goes on YouTube, where the creatives can get away with 3, 4, 5 minutes of holding you in suspense, though sometimes you see them on TV. And yeah, guess the brand before the end.
I think if you look around at so many of the technologies that are available today,
There's so many brilliant female minds that are behind it. A lot of times when people think about our worlds, you think that all the knowledge has already been acquired, or how can you further it? But that's when inventors come into play. They constantly push the boundaries of what we think is possible.
It's important to imagine things that don't exist yet because you see the possibility for things to happen. You kind of let your brain be free. Who knows, maybe you can actually make it something real.
Back in the old days, women were in the kitchen, women looked pretty on the stage, but now women and girls are building things. So I thought, why not I be the change that I want to see in the world? My name's Ava, I'm 16 and I'm from Ireland. I'm working on an invention that detects the amount of harmful dyes in soft drinks and sweets.
My name is Gitanjali, I'm 13 years old, and my invention helps detect lead in drinking water.
My name is Sophia. I'm 16 years old, and I'm working on an invention to detect sinkholes before they collapse.
What's this?
What have you got there, Ava?
I don't really know.
Miss Monopoly.
Dear Ava, we believe in you and your invention. That's why you've been chosen to receive a first edition of the Miss Monopoly game.
Because you're just like the inventors inside this box, inventors who changed the way we live. We hope that you have fun playing the game and learn about the women who were once just like you.
In every Monopoly box, there's $20,580 in Monopoly money. When you're playing the game, part of the fun is wishing it was real. This time for you, it is $20,580 in real money.
What? Wait, $20,580 in real money? Use this to help bring this invention or any future invention to life.
Go girl, be who you are and bring this world some change, Monopoly.
No way, Ava.
Hasbro created a game that no other game maker has ever done before. A game that features Ms. Monopoly, whose goal is to make a difference by celebrating female inventors and inspiring young entrepreneurs everywhere.
Wow.
Good God.
Come on then, Jerry.
I mean,
What have you got
there are
for
bits
Ms.
about
Monopoly?
it. Yeah, there are bits about it that I sort of love. You know, it is nice storytelling and, you know, good on those kids and everything they're doing. But it's this kind of genre of advert, like very purposeful advertising. There's this whole thing about, you know, can you do very purposeful advertising? And, you know, there's hard scientific evidence that, you know, having more emotion in your adverts makes them work better. So I can get why brands do it. And I think sometimes it can work really well, but it's when the sort of the purpose feels so kind of tagged in that literally for most of the advert, you couldn't possibly have guessed what it was going to be for. And the brand just kind of pops up at the end and says, yes, we're something to do with what you've been hearing about for the last few minutes. For me, it doesn't really land or feel authentic. And yeah, I just think generally it's a watch out for brands who are sort of trying to elevate to this more purposeful marketing. And I think, you know, many brands can find a space where they, you know, they unlock a sort of an emotional value above their kind of just use and purpose. But you shouldn't stretch yourselves too far. And when you're doing this kind of storytelling, you should really find a way that it's closer to your product, and maybe that your product almost even features in it in some way. I tend to think, I just find, yeah, telling a really emotional story and slapping a logo on the end is not really a sort of purposeful, successful advert for me. Though this got lots of people talking, so maybe it worked.
It all came crashing down when she ripped open that first bit of brown paper, if you ask me.
Oh my God.
And there's a cartoon face on it saying Ms. Monopoly.
So for me, I think one of the interesting things was that when sort of first saw the ad, I'd then like Googled it or whatever, and like I think it was the New Yorker had done a piece on it, but Monopoly was actually invented by a woman. So there was a piece there that was basically saying, you've been invented by a woman and you've never ever mentioned it. And like, this was probably your prime moment to say Monopoly was brought to you by a female entrepreneur.
I love that point about the original creator being a woman, because as soon as you say that, but if that's the opening line to the advert, kind of, I mean, some of the other criticisms still, but if they said that as their opening line, the advert
would have landed.
Kind of make sense, yeah.
Scott, what's your guess? Why didn't they take that obvious home run of talking about the fact that Monopoly was
painful? I mean, that is painful. I have to be honest. I mean, they may as well just made it pink and made it small, which is what they used to do in the old days. Pink and shrink. That was how you made things for girls and women. And I just, it's kind of made me cross watching that, because, firstly, it's the classic example of what I was talking about earlier, right? Some things you don't actually need to advertise, and you just have to talk about and to the right people and find a way of creating value. All that was we're going to give some really smart young girls who are doing great things in the world $20,000, and they've spent $5 million telling a story that they could have actually put the $5 million they spent on putting that film together to create a proper academy for a whole load of women, young girls who aren't inventing incredible things, and just done that.
I was just going to say the other interesting thing is that the actual game itself, the Ms. Monopoly game that was released, makes sure that every time a woman passes go, they collect more money than the man passing go. So the game, it kind of almost swings too far. Swing too far the other way? I don't know. I mean, I'm very competitive in Monopoly, so I'm happy to get a bit more money if I go past go.
So, sorry guys, that is the end of the show. Normally we'd have a vote about which was our favourite ads, but because we don't understand what was going on behind the scenes with each of these brands, I think it's a little unfair to have a loser or a winner. But it'd be great if we could just go around the guests and have each person tell us what bit of advice or what is the learning that you've taken from this show that you would pass on to the industry. Scott, if you'd like to go first.
Well, my advice is don't just rely on talking about what you think you need to talk about. You've got to do it. You've got to show it. You've got to give and create value, and probably do the value first, because then other people will talk about it for you. And if you need to, talk about that. But don't just step in and talk about stuff, because people care more about what you do right now than what you say.
I would say my learnings from this is sort of taken a little bit from what Jerry was saying about ads being native to the platform to get you to watch them. I think it's important to look at how people are consuming on the ads. So if they are doing hand movements to get you to look at different things, definitely take that on board. But at the same time, just have a think about where your ads are appearing and the audience that you're going after and where it's being seen.
Yeah, no offense to Hasbro, but for any brand that's kind of looking to tell that kind of more purposeful, elevated emotional story, I just work a bit far harder on finding kind of the authentic link back to your brand and kind of the role you can play in all 3 minutes of that fantastic video you're going to make, and not just the final 10 seconds.
So Pollyanna, Jerry, Scott, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next week.